what it is. We're all dealing with trauma.
Oh my
We're all
goodness.
dealing with trauma in one way or another. Life
Yes,
is life,
unfortunately.
brother.
Life
Life is
is
life. I'm just saying.
life is life and love is
Life
love.
is life. Love is love. Life is life. We are live
Yes,
on the Grand Rising Collective
yes.
channel. Got my brother Kyle in the building.
In the building, we creating the building, we maintaining, growing the building. That's right. I'm up here.
Got
What's
you.
up, family?
All right, so let me hold on. Trying to figure out how. All right, so I'm gonna take mine off because I don't. All right, and I still got this one going. Um, so hold on, fam. All right, fam. Listen, for the Kyle is. I mean, this is the whole like when we do host discussions is interchangeable. We're not gonna do the whole because this is live. We're not gonna do the whole. Well, we can if you want, Kyle. An introduction. Welcome to Grand Rising Collective. That's
Yes.
your thing, Kyle. You
Yeah,
got
well,
it.
that's that it is my typically my introduction. But yeah, Grand Rise Collective
Forte,
podcast, post discussion with
forte.
yes, with the two Ks, Kyle and Kayode, right? So you've been privy to some of our discussions. If you have not, then you're in for a treat today. We're live doing a live talk. We just had a discussion with Sister Kelly Talley in regard to the modern woman, also in regard to mental health and wellness with the brothers mostly, but also with the sisters as well. So we're going to have a discussion today, y'all, live, based off of that and some other things that we like to share.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And now
Sure.
last time, y'all, when we had the discussion with Kelly Cow, I
Mhm.
didn't have access to the chat, so I didn't know, what was going on. So I had an opportunity to look at the chats and Aisha, right?
Aisha.
All right. Aisha.
Yes.
Aisha. Aisha, forgive me if I'm messing up your name. It's all love. You should hear
Yeah,
what
don't
they
let
used to
me.
call me
Don't let
growing up.
me.
Kayode, Kyoto. Coyote. Oh, she hi. Sometimes, Kyle, they wouldn't even call me by my name. They would just make sounds, the sound of a coyote. Ow, ow,
What?
ow.
Man, people, I
Yo,
tell you, man. I tell you, people,
yo,
man.
young kids are cruel, man. They
Yeah,
are.
man. I
And
tell
it's
you.
so funny? That ties into some of the conversation right now in regards to we're getting into it. This is the intro. Here's the bridge.
Yes.
You have a lot of these mothers out here. No disrespect. No disrespect to them. I want to make sure that's clear. And I want to manage my tone, right?
Mhm.
Because I know I can be very animated. Family, subscribers, yours who are viewing, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
But there's different sides of me. It's just that on this platform, like Kyle said yesterday, is a platform where we can be free and express ourselves without judgment and all that other stuff. So
Right.
I take that to heart, and that's what I do. But at the same time, I am concerned about the message getting across and that it gets across clearly, and that I'm not misunderstood or confused. Okay,
It's
so
important.
I had to put that out there, Cal. Make sure we're clear with that.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of how cruel young people are, it's interesting for me. This may be a good eye opener or reflection for some. How women or mothers, uh, obviously mothers because they have children,
Mhm.
don't see or can't rationalize or understand or comprehend at how those who do OnlyFans, let's
Mhm.
keep it a buck,
Mhm.
those mothers who do OnlyFans for whatever reason, you got to make ends meet, no judgment. The ramifications that that's going to have on their child later on in life when they start going into school, and you know how technology is today, and
Mhm.
God forbid they go online and they see their mothers, you know what I mean, with these OnlyFans. Now, how these young people get access to OnlyFans, I don't know. Don't
Right.
ask me.
That's what I was
I'm
about to
just
say.
saying,
Like, how do you
yeah,
even
but
how do they even know that?
because what
That's,
I'm hearing is, yo, I don't that question isn't answered, but what I'm hearing is that these students, young too, are
Mhm.
clowning these kids uh who see their mothers on it. I mean, who knows? Maybe um, someone in their family has access to OnlyFans and they
Mhm.
clip it. Technology today. They film it on the phone, share it around. You know what I mean? So it's not like you have to have an account to access
Mhm.
some of this stuff. Sometimes it could be simple. An older brother or older cousin has access to OnlyFans and just so happen to run across this mother's, you know, page, and the
Mhm.
little kid say, "Oh, that's my classmate's mother. She was just there at the parents teachers meeting. You know what I mean? Just last
Mhm.
week or whatever. Yo, let me. They young kids got phones now, iPhone 7s and 8s,
Of
12s and
course.
13s,
12,
and can
13s,
film.
S's, X's, yeah, all that.
You know what I mean? So they can film all that joint, and so I that's a good way to segue into what we're about to talk about today, and view the video. What are your thoughts on that? And then we just going fam, we just going to watch some videos so y'all can get our perspective on some things what we've been talking about for years. Go ahead, Kyle. Floor is yours.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was
OnlyFans. I know
on
people
mute.
that do OnlyFans for different reasons, and I know not all people do OnlyFans just to like show off their bodies. I know people, artists. There are a few people, artists who do have like artwork and music and things like that who also use OnlyFans. But yeah, I'm curious to how they're getting access to OnlyFans at that age, and then if not, who is having access and then sharing that with other youth, with other teenagers to be able to use that to harass other teenagers that their mom is on there. And again, my question will also be, what prompts the mom to be on there? Is it financial issues? Is it uh, they have a deep need to be significant, to like be noticed, along with the financial issues? Is it something that she feels that's lucrative, that she's doing it for a short time period? Like, I would like to know the reasons why, because it's easy. It's easy to criticize folks. People go to the shake joints, what we call the strip clubs, and say like, look at this woman, she up here shaking her body parts and all these other things. But again, people's motivation is different. I used to think like, oh well, women who go to these places, they really don't have any goals in life. But my young, naive self, I realize now that it can go a lot deeper.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say, to answer your question, all of the above.
Hmm.
All of the above. Um, yeah, that's just all of the above. And then you're dealing with a generation of women nowadays, what we talked about yesterday and been talking about periodically in our discussions. You got the modern women today, right?
Hmm.
So it's a culture, I would say, if that's the right word, that has been um, built up or groomed or grown over the years, and
Hmm.
obviously it contributes to the dynamic of relationships today
Hmm.
that we're suffering from, which is
Yes.
why, because of this personality, why men in general are opting out of relationships because of the mindset of these women. Now, it's always funny because whenever, let me talk about this before, and in the video yesterday I spoke about it. I have no, I do not hate women. It seems like that's the theme. Whenever you're holding women to task, it's called misogyny, and that's not what this is. Um, and this, I find this conversation very difficult to have, um, in some aspects and in some regards, and in particularly if we have women that are watching and you want to jump in on the conversation, feel free. We have you all up here so we can talk about it. But I just want y'all to know, as
Definitely.
we have these conversations, speaking for myself, I can't speak for Kyle, but I'm sure my um, assumption of this with Kyle is the same. Is that we don't hate women. We were raised by black women, strong black women, and we appreciate our mothers. That we classify them as
Mothers,
matriarchs.
aunts, cousins, raised
Thank
by
you,
all of
Cal.
them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And that's not to
Salute the
disrespect
black
the
women.
father, our dads who were patriot, right? Matriarchs is the mom, patriarchs is the dads. But I'm a big fan of accountability, and it just strikes me, you know, and it's not like now. Before, I think if I mentioned this, Cal, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago,
Hmm.
you know, it wouldn't have been as understood as it is now, because what I'm seeing now on news feeds is that a lot of women are starting to wake up. Yeah, we have been. I don't think they'll say this, but we have been indoctrinated and programmed to believe certain things that aren't true,
Mm.
aren't necessarily true about what we've been taught growing up. And now, cause and effect, we're starting to see the effects of that. So all I'm doing is contributing to the conversation um, with within my group, right? Of those who listen, to try and contribute to the discussion to help ultimately us heal. And as I said this yesterday, we both have to take accountability, male and female. But it seems like, in my opinion, again, that as men, we're forced to take accountability in large for the most part because the world, I would say, is more harder on men because we have to produce our value as opposed to women who are given their value. We talked about this yesterday as well, Cal, with Kelly. So so with that, and men pretty much are, and that I'm not gonna get into that because that's a whole nother. But men pretty much are the ones who set the structure, who provide the structure for the home. In my belief, it's God, husband, wife, and then children, right? And it's that way for a variety of reasons, but one reason in particular is because we're the protectors. We're built by, and that's what I go on. I stand in that square. Men are biologically built, to protect. Women are not biologically built to protect. That's just what it is. I don't care how many women think they could go up against a man in a wrestling match or football or sports or anything like that. They're not physically built. Just call it what it is. They're not physically built to go up against a man. That's not how our Creator designed it, right? And that's just what it is. Take it, leave it, like it or lump it. Just start, and this is what I emphasized before, just start taking our roles seriously and start owning it. There's nothing wrong with being feminine. There's nothing wrong with being a woman. In fact, there's, women have just as much power as men, but in a different area. Their femininity is their strength, whereas a man's masculinity is his strength. So that was a long tirade, Kyle. Go ahead, man. Talk, and then I'll play the videos and we'll give our comments on that. I'm sorry, man. You know how I am with that.
No. I mean, this is why we have these discussions, you all. This is why we have these talks because we're not saying we're experts or anything, but we're sharing our experiences, we're sharing our insight on certain things, and we want you to be able to chime in whether we're right or whether we think we're wrong or what you think you agree or whatever whatever that is for you as far as your engagement with this type of topic. Definitely put your comments in so that way we can discuss it and bring it up because there may be some things that we're missing. But definitely, it's important for us to be able to talk about this openly because that is how solutions are going to be created, and that's how solutions are going to be able to be shared with not just us but everyone else. And again, when we talk about relationships, most people talk about relationships, but unfortunately, it seems like more people are not engaging or they're disengaging from relationships. And relationships are what help the world to become what it is. There's no way that you can fend for yourself without having a relationship with someone, whether that be a platonic relationship, a familial relationship, or an intimate relationship, like with a partner, with a loved one. So we're talking about these things because it's important, right? People want to act like it's not that important, but it's important. Because if they're not talking about relationships, then what are we talking about? We're talking about money. We're talking about maybe like, certain music and things like that. They're going right back to relationships. So, when we talk about these things, again, we're not here to trigger anyone. We're not here to we're not here to negatively trigger anyone because triggers can go negative and positive. So we're not here to negatively trigger anyone. We're not here to abuse or to what's the word I'm looking for? We're not here to be a deterrent or distraction. We're here to create solutions. So yeah, in regard to that, let's run the video.
Got you, brother. Thank you, and thank you for that. No distractions. All right, so here, and please enter into the comments if you have a problem with my voice or my mic, my audio is not working. You know what I mean? There's soundboards I'm dealing with, and there's a port that says live and whatever. And the last time we did a live, I think Cal like this, and I had this set up. The audio, so I just want to make sure the audio is good and our conversation don't get lost with that background noise, what have you. Okay, so we're gonna go to this video. So the video I'm about to play now, just keep it 100. That's if there are any women that watch this and you have an adverse opinion, let us know. We would love to have you on. We would love that. I mean, there's some women we know we're gonna have this conversation with anyway, but we know them, but we want to hear from y'all, like, you know, what you think about. So this right here is a big hot topic, Kyle, and it's an Instagram post from a very she's pretty popular YouTuber, not YouTuber, Instagram, social media influencer, I would say. And if and we're gonna we're giving credit where credit is due. So in the video as we put up on live, we're gonna edit this thing and make sure we give everybody their credit. And her Instagram tag is his underscore daughter underscore 7. Right? Mindset advice. And she's a sister who talks about these types of things. So the theme of this video is called Submission is Protection. And women have a big issue with the term submission as it deals with men. And, that's why for women who's on, we could delve into this conversation more. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I'm going to play the video. You ready, Cal?
Ready.
All right, so let me share the screen. I'm we're getting our stuff together, y'all. So just relax, be patient. All right, Cal, do you see the screen, right?
Yes, I can.
All right, so let me get to playing. Here we go. Oh, hold on, volume.
No, you should be able to submit to your man because you should be able to trust enough in his leadership. And a lot of the times when you men say like, "Oh, I don't want you going to a bar, I don't want you going to a club," it's because you're a fucking man. You know what happens there. You know that men there just want to fuck, or there's weirdos that want to like put shit in your drinks, or there's drama, or it's just a whole ass environment that you can't be there to protect your female if it came down to it. You would have to live with that guilt. You know what I mean? She gets assaulted and you can't do nothing about the man that did that to her. You would live with that. And women don't understand that. They think it's control. No, your man's being a protector, as he should. And as his woman, you should respect it. You should honor the fact that your man can see the dangers that you can't. Simple as that.
What do you think about that, Cal? What's up, bro?
Hey, I mean, she made a good point. I think it really comes down to trust. Like, in order to lead somebody, you got to be able to trust them. And trust is a foundational part of relationships, whether it be intimate or friendships. And if you don't have that trust, then you're not really building a strong foundation of a relationship. And I think that certain men just automatically assume that people should just submit to them just because. And I think that's where the confusion comes in. And then you also have women who have a hard time submitting because they don't trust their mate, nor do they really trust themselves in their decision making.
All right. One of the things that I really appreciate about our conversations is we do differ to some degree on some topics. And that's good. Because it makes no sense if we have a discussion like this, we both agree on the same thing. But a woman's perspective would be helpful as well. So I want to present this, Cal.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make this. I don't know why. I feel a certain kind of way where in topics like this, because I was just watching the feed, and the feed was talking about how come men's preferences are clowned and frowned upon, and not to be, heard and respected to some degree, but women's preferences are to be respected and not clowned upon and heard out. It's this double standard thing, right? So women can have their preference, 6 feet, 6 figures, 6-pack and all that. But if a man says pretty, fine, feminine, and friendly, or something like that, or she can't be heavy set, she can't be Lizzo, and then like all of a sudden, we're misogynist for our preferences. I don't know if you know about that. Whenever we say something that, this is our preference, I'm not attracted to, or a heavy set woman is not my type of way. There's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Why? You're hating on women. You know what I mean? But yet they do this. That's the thing that So I'm saying all that to say, Kyle, I feel a certain kind of way when I feel like before I make a statement about women, I have to preface it with, I gotta preface it with all men make mistakes too, or men are men are fouled up too. I get it. I understand, but it seems like that's that stigma that adds to it. Before we can talk about when we gotta say men are messed up too. That whole thing. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say in response to your comment. In terms of women and their concerns about being SA'd, you know what I mean by SA'd, right?
No.
Sexually, all right, sexually abused. Forget it.
Okay, so yeah, call it, yeah, because I don't know what that is. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, they mean sexual abuse. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
No,
so
sexually, physically, verbally, yeah, physically, yeah, definitely.
I get
Sexual
it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But it seems as though I get the impression, generally, right, that more men are doing it than more men are doing it. There are more men sexually abusing women in general. Like a majority. It's coming across in discussions, and when we have these type of discussions, the stereotype is that by and large, more men do. Most men are sexually abusers. Hence, women. I'm sorry. I wanted to finish. Hence, why women are hesitant in the word submissive and catering to their man, because they're not going to cater to a man who is an essay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I finished my.
No. No, because I'm just asking a question. So, just to clarify for the family, you're saying that typically the highest percentage of sexual abusers are typically men. That's what you're saying, right? Or no?
No, I'm saying that that's the stereotype that's put out there. Women are going out there, and by and large, they're thinking that most men are like this.
Oh, they're thinking most men are sexual abusers, not that sexual abusers are mostly men. Because it's a difference.
Well, isn't that the same thing?
No, it's a difference because the way we preface it, if we say that most sexual abusers are men, we're saying that as a stat, as a fact, because that's a fact, right? Number wise. But if we're saying that this man is a sexual abuser, this person is a sexual abuser because he's a man, that's not correct. Okay. That is a higher percentage that he might be, but that's not a guarantee.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about percentages wise. I get the sense that a lot of women in general view men, right? We're dealing with our culture as sexual abusers. Like it's in them. So for them, listen, what I'm going to do, because I think you're this way, even though I'm saying this is a woman's perspective. This is my opinion, right? This is my perspective. From a woman's perspective, they're like, in the back of their head, I think he's like this. He's not doing it now because he's showing his best representative. But I feel that 6 months, a year and a half, or 2 years in a relationship, that he will eventually be this way. So because he's this way, I'm not going to submit to him. I'm not going to cater to him. I'm not doing none of that crap. I'm going to make sure I got mine on the side. Boom, 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 boom. So just in case he tries to pull that BS on me, I'm out. That's where I'm going to leave that thought there, and that's what I'm saying. What do you think about that?
Okay, so okay, right? Because you said it's in their subconscious that this brother may, you're right, causing her physical harm, abusively, later, either present or later on down in the relationship, because he has that in him. Yeah, that I mean, it's a real fear, but I mean that's of course we know that's based upon a person. Of course, we know that depends on a person. That's not necessarily going to happen, but I can see why a sister would have that type of idea in her mind based on TV, movies, statistics, environment. all these news channels. I could see how she would have that subconsciously in her head, right? And that's unfortunate because it's going to take someone, a man and or community, to help her to reimagine that belief. That's what we call a limiting belief. She has a limiting belief that no matter how good this man seems, that he's going to end up abusing me later. That's a limiting belief. That's a belief based off some truth, but it's limiting her from really engaging and connecting with her mate.
Okay. So the thing that, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets me, okay, so that's one scenario that plays out in regards to the resistance to submitting, but then just play the other scenario to the other extreme. Whereas these women have a good man that caters to them, and then they get bored and leave him for somebody else, which I believe the percentages of that is higher. Hence, the divorce rates for those who get married, 70%. I mean, I'm sure if those who are online, they know about this. They've heard this ad nauseum. 70% of women filing for divorce, 90 if they're college educated, and that number ranges whatever the case may be. So that's kind of interesting to me. And it shows, and from what I understand now, I can be wrong. I'm putting it out there. I have no data, facts, and statistics to back what I'm about to say up. But I would venture to say that a majority of these divorces aren't because the man has been essaying her.
Okay, well, let's just call it out sexual abuse. Let's just call it.
All right, yeah, but YouTube got their policies. That's why. So they frown on.
Okay, got you. Okay, got you.
That's where I get from message.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? I would venture to say that that's the case. Irreconcilable differences doesn't constitute abuse. You know, irreconcilable differences. You know, to some extent, he lost his job. You know, irreconcilable differences. Oh, he doesn't make as much money as he used to make, or whatever that case may be. Oh, irreconcilable. I got a child or 2 children from him. Now I can divorce his ass and make some money without having to subject myself to him.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, so that whole stigmatization again, we're staying on the topic of submission. Why women don't want to submit.
Right.
When we look at the data shows a lot of them are divorcing, not because of essaying, but because of ulterior motives that doesn't deal with their.
God, you're breaking up, brother. You're breaking up. And maybe that's my signal, but you're breaking up.
No, it's mine. It's mine. Hold on. How we doing now?
I can hear you. Okay, now it's back in sync.
That's what it is.
Real time, family. Real time. In real time.
This is live. Is live. I had to learn about this. I was like, y'all don't show up. So, I mean, a lot of you are still not here. But anyway, no, but what I'm saying in terms of that, like a lot of these, the whole thing about submission and not wanting to submit because of that fear, like we just said, because I feel threatened or whatever the case would be, it's turning out, according to the data, that a lot of these women are leaving relationships, particularly marriages, because they're not happy. That's a big point right there. They're not happy. And they've been fed, like you said, through media and all this other stuff, that in some way you're supposed to be happy every day in the relationship, right? And in order, and then the thing that really gets with women to a large extent is women's, and this is no stare, I'm just saying what, emotional creatures, it is what it is. Women's mood changes, and that's just how they made. We get it. So it's virtually impossible for a man to keep a woman happy because we're not mind readers. We don't understand what she's feeling at one time. I mean, we could go on to stories about women. I mean, up to this day, women talking about they got an issue, and we're like, okay, we want to fix it, but they don't want us to fix it. They just want us to hear what the problem is. So and then there may be a time when she wants us to fix it. But how do we know when she wants us to fix it compared to when she doesn't want to? And either way, we lose because she's not going to be happy because this is an eternal thing that she's doing. You understand what I'm saying? So you're in a marriage, you're expecting the marriage to make you happy.
Okay.
We lose. Wait, we lose either way. And then we go to the data, facts, and statistics that support it. 70% divorce, 90% divorce because ultimately they're not happy, and they, you know, that. I mean, it goes on because I could go into some stuff. I could go into some biological.
Of course. Let me chime in on this, man. Let me chime in on this.
Absolutely.
Let me chime in. So, in regards to, because you said a lot, and you know,
always do, man. You know, I always do.
Well,
I always do.
You said a lot in regards to that, and typically when you have people who don't have purpose, right? We talked about this before, right?
Okay.
When you have one person or two people together that are just expecting the other person to do for them what they're not doing for themselves, you're going to have problems. Okay. And this is something that is very pervasive in our society, especially amongst our people. I'm talking about Black and brown folks. And here's why I say this, because we've been indoctrinated by a system that treats us like things, right? They don't treat us like total human beings, right? So when you have a system that treats Black and brown folks like objects, and then we turn around and we objectify each other, women and men, men and women, right? And then on top of that, you get with that person intimately in a relationship. And then on top of that, y'all start objectifying each other. You expect the other person to make you happy, to satiate you, to give you meaning and value when you don't even do that for yourself. And unfortunately, we have been taught how not to do that. We've been taught that I should wait on somebody else to do something for me that I should be doing for myself. And then on top of that, we go, because we want to step on top of submission. So when we go into submit, there's many men and women who, let me stick on the brothers. There's many brothers who ain't even submitted to a higher power. Let's keep it real. And they want their women to submit to them, and they haven't even submitted to themselves, loving on themselves and submitting to a higher power if they choose to follow that. And then they expect somebody to do something that they ain't doing. And I can't co-sign that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, I get it. I know you want somebody to like love you and embrace you and all this other stuff. But if you ain't loving and embracing yourself, like, then what we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, and submission has a negative term, right? It has a negative term in regards to somebody under somebody's control, right? So-called, right? So the sisters, now let me go into the sisters. The sisters seem like they want somebody to take care of them security, right? Whether it be financially, whether it be emotionally, all these things, right? And once they get that, they realize that there's more to it than that. Like James Baldwin said, and I've said this in other podcast episodes, family, y'all can check. You know, and I'm paraphrasing, they basically say that a person who's hungry has an appetite for bread, like a need for bread, like actual bread to eat, because they're starving. And they say, all I need is bread, because they don't have it. Right. Once they get it, they realize that that is not going to sustain me alone. They figure, now that I've satisfied that need, that hunger, now there's some other things that need to be satisfied. And I think a lot of times with the submission thing is that, what are we submitting to? Right? What are we submitting to? Are we submitting to a stable household? Because just because the household is stable financially doesn't mean it's stable emotionally. And that is something that people have not really fully dealt with yet. And that's what I'm really starting to see out here in the world. My eyes are really starting to open, and my mind is starting to open, is that, yeah, we got the car, we got the house, we got the fence, we got the dog and the 2.5 children. We got all that. But there's chaos in the household. There's disharmony in the household. There's abuse in the household, either coming from the woman to the man and or man to the woman. And this is the talk that people don't want to have because it reminds us that we can't point the finger. We have to deal with how we engage with ourselves and how we engage with each other. Because if we don't, the talks with the submission and everything, because I actually agree with the sister. I actually full-fledged agree with the sister. But I gotta say this too. What is she submitting to? I've been guilty of that in the past. Let me put myself out there. Wait. I've been guilty.
You talking about the sister in the video?
Yes, the sister in the video. Yeah, I've been guilty as far as wanting a woman to submit, but then I had to realize later, not in the moment, but later, what was she submitting to? Submitting to just being with me and just having a relationship and that's it. It's like that's not enough. I realize that now that's just not enough. Like just us getting together and being sexually intimate and going out on trips and going out to eat, that ain't enough. That's not enough. And people gotta understand that's not gonna be enough. Now, for somebody who doesn't have any goals or dreams in life, that might be enough. For me, that's not enough. And I know that for whoever I'm with, which I'm in a relationship right now, that's not enough for both of us. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Like that's not gonna be enough. It's just not.
Okay. I mean, I heard a lot, and you're right. What are you submitting to? Right. That's why, and a lot of our speeches and our talks, I say it's very important that you know who's talking, as well as who you're listening to. Right. Consider the source and all that stuff. So I get all that. I gotta be careful how I say. Well, let me say, I'll start it off this way. I don't care about. I see so many levels to this thing, right? I'll say it this way. I'm not interested in passing the blame.
Yeah.
Let me make that clear. I'm not for that blame game.
Indeed.
I don't think that solves anything, right? Because if you're blaming somebody else, it's something that you're not doing. And sometimes when you're blaming somebody else, that's a reflection of what you're lacking.
Right.
And sometimes that's a projection or a mirror into you. So if you're, criticizing somebody else on something, that means you're the one guilty of what you're criticizing that other person for, or there's something lacking related to you in that area. So I'm not all for that. I'm not into that whole blame game. So I want to make sure that's clear.
Indeed.
But I am focused on solutions. And one of the things that I want to bring up, right? And I think Kelly talked about it yesterday when I was like, the chicken or the egg, whichever comes first, which is a valid, point. And I was like, well, we got to find the source. We got to find the problem. She said, well, we already know what the source is. And she pointed out some very good points: the incarceration of males in jail, the lack of fathers in the home. I mean, she killed it, man. She really dropped some jewels. She dropped some gems on that. And I can't refute that. That's right on. So if we look at that, right, it's a tough one, right? Because it's like this. When you mention Kyle, and this is what I'm saying, we have this guilt whenever we trying to hold women accountable. We always got to preface it with men are dogs too, or men aren't good either. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
some men are dogs, some men ain't good. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? But whenever we have to preface it, it seems like we always have to preface it in essence to soften the blow. And sometimes I realize growing up, and again, I'm a man, I'm not a woman, so we're different genders. Women, you can't talk the same way to a brother that you would talk to a sister. I mean, I get it. I get the delicacies in there. But sometimes you need that tough talk. And that's what a daughter would get from her father if he was in the home. She would get that tough talk from the father. If she likes this dude, this boy, or what have you, it'd be the father there saying, why you want to date him? I don't like him. He's not, And the typical response to that, oh, she don't want to date a guy that her parents like, right? She'll go out her way to, we already know that, how that plays out. All right, whatever. But the point I want to bring up, when you said, yes, hold men accountable, I agree with that. And when you mentioned that he's not serving God. I think you said something about that. He's not accountable to God.
Yeah. Whatever that is for that, for that person.
And that's what I want to tell. I agree, right? Part of the selection criteria for women, because I want to get into that too. They chose wrong, right? And then some of them say, yeah, but he wasn't like that when I first met him. Somewhere along the line, a person can only put on a facade for so long. And somewhere along the line, within that 3 to 6 month period, you saw some warning flag. I have to put this out here. I know it's a little off the topic, but I got to put it out there. Hopefully, people learn from this. So, and that goes for men too. Somewhere along that 3 to 6 month period, vetting time as you're getting to know them, you saw some warning flags. You saw some warning signs and some red flags. You can't front, and you chose to ignore them, and that's on you. So that's what we have to be in attune to. I'm hearing some static. I don't know if anyone you're listening, put in the chat if you're hearing static. You don't hear anything?
Yeah, I don't hear anything. I don't hear static.
All right, so I hope it don't affect the recording or the live. But if you're hearing in the live,
let us know. Some static, put in the live. I don't hear any, but if you hear some static, put in the live. In the chat.
All right, we don't great.
And make sure you subscribe to Grand Rise Collective Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Put them likes down there. Put them likes down there. Put them comments in there. Right? Let us know what you're thinking about. Put them comments
thing, bro.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to touch on the lack of men not believing in a higher power, right?
Right.
And I know it goes deeper than this, but just take it one step back, and then we'll take 2 and 3. Who's raising these boys? Simple question. Who's raising these boys? Because these are the boys that are out here now that the women are complaining about. These are the men out here now that these women don't want to submit to or be submissive to. Who's raising them? The mom or the dad? And from what I heard, statistics show that fathers have a better outcome in raising their children than mothers do. Because it's in fathers that provides that structure that a child needs in order to develop somewhat decently to be a productive citizen in the world we live in today. It goes further than that, bro. I can go biblical with just the genetic makeup of how the Creator made us. And I said it before, in regards to the genetic makeup, where a woman cannot survive in this society on her own. No matter how much they want to believe they can't. And that's not to say men can survive without women either. We both need each other. But as far as longevity, a man can live longer on the earth than a woman would, and that's already biblically proven. Right? So my whole thing here, like I said, is not to place the blame. It's just look at reality. It's just look at the facts. Own it. It is what it is. There are a lot of things we go through in life that we don't like. When we grow up, to a large extent. Me, I grew up in a single family home with my mom. My dad, thank God, was still in the picture. But I had to just look at it what it is. I didn't like going to the doctor. I didn't like getting a needle put in my arm. I didn't like getting blood drawn from me. It hurt. I hated it. If I had a choice, I wouldn't do it. But what was the result? It healed me. I wasn't feeling well. I felt sick. I went to the doctor. Not the medical industry today is questionable today, but I'm just talking about back then. Back then, it healed me, right? Just talk about school and education. I didn't want to go to school every day, but I had to go to school, especially grammar school and high school, to get the fundamentals, reading, writing, and arithmetic, in order to be able to function in this world, to hold down a job, to have somewhat of a decent livelihood. I didn't like it. It wasn't easy. It was tough. But I had to go through it because it made me who I am today. When I did something wrong in the home, my mom put the whip to my tail. So did my dad. If I did something wrong, I wasn't operating. I didn't like it. If I had a choice, I wouldn't want it. But what did it do? It helped me grow into the man that I am today. And what we have today is that discipline is not being enforced because of child welfare, whatever, right? Because of this whole sensitive talk I want to curse, man, but I'm not. Oh, this whole sensitive. But it's that very thing that we need. It's that tough talk that we need. It's the fathers in the home that we need to help us become better people, to have a better civilization, a better world. You got a lot, and I'm going to close it out, and Cal, I'll leave it over to you. You got a lot of goddamn politicians in political office today who are a result of the lack of the father in the home, or who are a direct result of the lack of leadership and structure in the home. That's who we got running this fucking company, this world today. You got a bunch of people. You got these people who are holding position. Let me calm down. You have people who are holding position, yes, say, of presidency, and they're draft dodgers. But yet you quick to go to war, but yet you weren't willing to go to war and serve your own country. And you're not willing to have your own child go to war. You didn't serve, but you expect other people to go to war. There's a serious hypocrisy going on, and it stems from the lack of structure and being able to have these tough talks and not be a bitch about it. We need to have these tough talks with women, hold them accountable, just like we're being held accountable, so we can build that nuclear family. And I'll tell you this, and I know I said this before already. This is the final time I say it. Kyle, I'll tell you that in order for us to have a nuclear family, like you talk about, husband and wife in the home, you can't have that nuclear family if you're with a woman who can't handle a tough conversation and be held accountable for her actions. It's impossible.
For sure. Yeah. Indeed. No, that's real. That is factual. There has to be a level of maturity that can handle and that can engage with having a mature conversation about needs and wants and goals and how we're going to function as a couple, as a unit, and hopefully as a family. Like, that takes a mature person. And you're right, there's a lot of hypocrisy going on. I mean, we live in a society that's built on deception and lies and hypocrisy, unfortunately. And that's part of the foundation. That's not something we're saying. That's part of the foundation of how this country was founded. And also, unfortunately, we take on some of those traits in our schooling system, in our medical industry system, in our governmental system. You know, it is very unfortunate for that, and it has historical ramifications and outcomes because of that, in regards to us as people, Black folks as people in this country. And it goes into our careers, like we're saying now, our relationships, our resources, etc. So yeah, like we need, like you said, Kayode, we need each other. And yes, we do need to have responsibility, accountability for our women. And I really believe, and here's one thing too, I think that gets lost in the sauce, is that sometimes not what we say, but how we say it. And you know, we talk about, you and I've talked about this before, like the brutal honesty, brutal truth. It doesn't have to be brutal. It just has to be honest, right? It just has to be honest. Sometimes it's not going to be calm and things. Like sometimes it might, voices might be raised. But that depends on the person and who you're engaging with and what type of relationship y'all have. Because some people can handle people raising their voices. Some people, they can't. So you have to be able to measure that with the person you're talking to. And that's where communication comes into play, family, because we say we treat everybody exactly the same, which is a lie. We don't do that. We don't, right? You don't treat the same way you treat your mother, you don't treat everybody, right? There's some characteristics that how you treat your mom that you use to treat other people. And hopefully that's on a positive spectrum, but we don't treat everybody exactly the same. And that's for a reason, that's for a good reason. And, again, staying on topic, going back to what you were saying, as far as building family and that accountability, there has to be accountability for our actions. And unfortunately, you have some people who have never really been fully held accountable, or they don't want to be held accountable because they have to deal with self. And that goes back to what I said about a few minutes ago. People have a hard time dealing with self, me included. I've gotten much better at it, but that's still a challenge because there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. You know, just like the was that Martha and Vandella song? Is that Martha? I know it's Motown. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Yeah, there is
baby,
yeah, babe. That's one of my favorite songs because it's true. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide from yourself. And then Bob Marley said it best. You know, you can't run away from yourself. You know what I'm saying? You could, you know what I'm saying? You could, you know, I forget the chorus, but yeah, you say you can't run away from yourself, you know? Yeah, you're running and running away, you know, but you can't run away from yourself. Like that's real. Bob, drop what Funk Master Flex dropped a bomb on that multiple times. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, like that's what's going on.
So to your point, Cal, how we started this conversation, I'm going to play another video.
Yeah.
This is from a young lady. It's cool because I think it's a couple, and her name is, and we go again, credit where credit is due.
Mhm.
Her name is the Instagram. Cal, before I go, I'm sorry. Did you finish your point, or did you want to finish your point?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, I'll end on Bob Marley, man. You know.
Oh yeah.
Enough respect.
So,
yeah.
So the Instagram is henryandvictoriadoss. I believe it is Henry and Victoria. We'll put it in the description in the bottom. So you were saying who women are held accountable. So she gives a very interesting take on this, and she says the hypocrisy of it all, which is what you just let off. The hypocrisy that we. So she really touches on it. So yes, listen to this and then give our feedback on it. All right. Hold on, I'm gonna share the screen. This is I found this very interesting. All right, so hold on. Let me know if you see the screen.
I see it.
All right, so let me take the mic off. And let's go.
The amount of women that are like, I would never let my husband tell me what to do. I'm not his child. And these same women will go to work. Their boss says, hey, I need you to turn this in by 5 p.m. They say, yes, sir. The HR manager says, hey, I need you to stop saying this to your employees. They say, okay. The trash man says, I need you to put your trash cans beside the road Wednesday morning. They say, okay. The speed limit sign says, don't go past 65. Guess what? They don't go past 65. The nurse says, hey, you have this condition. I need you to take this medicine. They say, okay. Your single friend will say, girl, you don't need to do this for your husband. You need to tell him this, this, and this. And they say, I can trust you. You're the expert. Literally, everybody else in the world will tell them, jump, and they say how high, and they do it. But when your husband, who has a covenant with God to protect and provide for you, tells you, hey, I don't think you should do this. Yes, you should do this. No, you should not do this. It's a problem and you're oppressed.
And that's to your point. You said God, right? So these men, they're not even doing what they're supposed to do, right? And adhering to the principles of the Creator, right? Some of them call it God, Buddha, whatever the case may be. So I found that very interesting. And then I'll give one out, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. One of the in the comments, a woman wrote, she responded, "Don't start with the but my boss pays me." She replies, "Ma'am, your boss has no biblical obligation to you." So all right, so those the video and then that caption. What do you have to say to that, Kyle?
Okay, wow. Yeah, she made awesome great points, man. Like if you're gonna be with that man in that relationship, when we talk about submit, you know, people talk, you know, we submit a letter, we submit a proposal, we submit, you know, all these things of submission, right? We submit a proposal, we submit a letter, we submit an idea. Yeah, like all these things we submit, you know, you submit to your boss because he pays you. But when it comes to your loved ones, you don't. And that's a cognitive dissonance right there. You know, we allow other people to control our lives, but then when we have some say so, then it's like, well, no, you're not gonna do that. And it's just like, that's not consistent. That's not consistent. Somebody who's supposed to be your relation. But see, here's the thing too. What I'm noticing is that, like I mentioned earlier, we're valuing money over people. We're valuing a job over our relationship. Now, here's the thing. I'm real now. We live in New York City, one of the most expensive cities in America, right?
Absolutely.
Let's keep it, like I said, keep it on deck. That job is not going to embrace you at night when you need to be held and be comforted. That job is not going to protect you physically if a burglar enters your home, right? That job is not going to listen to you vent when you're having troubles at work or in society of things that frustrate you emotionally. And that's where the cognitive dissonance comes in, because we have been indoctrinated to say that the job is worth more than a relationship. And both of them have importance, but that relationship is going to last you longer than that job. It just is. Now,
or so you hope.
We hope, because the job is sustain you money wise, so we get that. But the relationship can sustain you emotionally, but also it can sustain you money wise, depending on the dynamic you have with your partner, with your mate, right? Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? Depending. So, you know, it's a cognitive dissonance thing, man. That these sisters, some of these sisters have taken on to say, you listen, and that's a real question. You submit to your job, you submit to your boss, you come in on time. But when it comes to a person you say you love and that you cherish and you want to spend the rest of your life with, if y'all are in that type of a marriage commitment, or at least it's just a solid commitment of building towards that, then you're lying to yourself and you're lying to your mate.
Yeah.
You know, they're lying to those sisters are lying to themselves and they're lying to their mate.
I don't disagree with you at all, brother. Yeah, I mean, you said everything that I was thinking pretty much in terms of, like you said, the cognitive dissonance. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think you kind of captured it, brother. You kind of really captured it.
Like,
Nah, because that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
In terms of what she was saying, and it's funny because I never even thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I never really pictured that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never, because one of the things we're not mentioning is who is your allegiance to,
Right.
right? Is it a relationship or is it the job?
Sorry about the sirens. Can you hear the sirens?
No, that's good.
Okay. I said we
I can
need
still
to
hear
see
you.
y'all, so that's that sound.
I can still hear you. I'm sure they can hear you too.
Right.
But then when you when you put into consideration, and it goes both ways. Again, I'm gonna try and keep it as balanced as I can. Work husbands and work wives.
Oh yeah,
There's countless stories of, I mean, I'm just gonna call it how I've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Where the wife is not satisfied in the home, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, whatever, right? Or maybe he is, but there's a miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
But then she has her boss, right, who exudes this level of power and influence, and she becomes easily susceptible like that. And that's more so, and this is the thing that's so interesting too, because you made valid points. This is nothing really more I can add, but you notice how there's an argument that tries to be made where talk about equality, right? Women want equality; they want to be treated equal, right? But when it comes down to going to the restaurant and who's going to pay the bill, there's an issue with that. So if a man expects her to pay the bill, there's a problem with it. But I thought you wanted it to be equal.
Right.
You got your job, you got your degree, you're writing your own check. You don't want to be submissive to me in the home. You don't want to cater to me in the home. You don't want to cater to me as your love interest, right? Because you're doing your own thing. Your money is your money, but yet my money is our money. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then when we compare it into the workforce, and I'll close it out, play the next video. We compare it to the workforce. It's not the same for men and women. No, we don't. As far as the work wives, I concede to that. Like work wives compared to work, I concede to that absolutely.
In what way?
In terms of, like, for example, affairs by husbands on the job.
Oh,
you see that
yeah.
shows and stuff like that.
Okay, yes,
The
definitely.
secretary, the secretary, and that whole nine.
Yeah.
I can see. A man got to man up, be mature, control himself. You got a faithful wife at home, hopefully, right? Do what you're supposed to do. Don't do that.
Mhm.
I mean, we're not perfect, but that's why how I do. I don't crap where I eat. Business is business.
Right.
I don't play that. You messing with my money, right? So anyway, it's different because in terms of affluence or influence, whereas a woman in the workforce, if she has a boss, he's the opposite sex, number one, and that's majority of the workforce, where you have the man running departments, not too many women,
Mhm.
although that's changing, I give you that.
Yeah.
But the boss has more, I would say, and I could be wrong, has more of a influence over the woman than, the opposite, because typically men work in jobs where it's the man that's over. That's usually the case. You know what I mean? The percentages prove that. Whereas there's more men over women than there are women over men. In many cases.
Right.
And that's part of that whole allegiance, which is what the video as a branch could extend to.
Mhm.
So that's my point on that. I got another one for you, brother.
All right.
And this is this is from the same woman, Henry and Victoria Doss.
Okay.
She on point with her content. She says there's this whole big thing. Let me actually. All right, Cal.
Okay.
Ooh, this is gonna be a tough one though. This is gonna be This is gonna be a tough one. Is marriage a partnership?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oof. Well, I've heard people say yes. I've heard people say no.
Are there two heads of household, Cal? Can there be two heads of household, Cal?
Two heads of household.
That's what a partnership indicates. That's a partnership.
Right. Two heads of household. I don't think so. Because again, somebody...
Oh no, wait. Hold on. Wait, I gotta play the video.
Okay.
And then respond back.
Cool.
I don't know. Oh man, here we go. Let me take the mute off and go for it.
Marriage is a partnership, not a dictatorship. Marriage has a hierarchy. It should be God, the husband who leads the wife. The husband has a separate role, the wife has a separate role. They're both equal in importance, but different in function. God told Adam, do not eat of this tree. Adam told his wife, do not eat of this tree. But because Eve wanted a partnership of a marriage, she started listening to other people aside from her husband. They said, it's not really what God said. Now the order is backwards. Satan telling Eve what to do. Eve not only eating of the tree, but telling her husband to eat of the tree too. And guess what Adam did? He submitted to Eve. That is what a partnership looks like, where both submit to each other, both have the same role, the same function. There's no hierarchy. You should not have a partner as a spouse. And for those of you that are like, what if he's a trash dude? What if he's not a good leader? Baby, why are you marrying him then? You have a choice. When he pops the question, will you marry me? You can say no. Unless you're one of these females that proposed to him. You already started the marriage off backwards because now you're leading.
Can I comment? Can I
Yeah,
jump into
because
this?
I can only hear like half of it. So
Oh, you didn't hear the whole thing?
no, I heard it, but like it was low. And again, family, I don't know if y'all heard it as well. Like I don't know if it was low like that for y'all, but it was low volume for me. I could hear some of it.
You want me to play it again? Let me try to play it again.
Yeah, well, comment first. I want to go to comment in, and then we go back to it. Yeah.
All right, gotcha. All right, so yeah, let me. All right, so we talked about earlier, and you mentioned earlier, right? And just keep this 100. Keep it a buck. Stay in our square.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned an idea, and we could be wrong. Again, we don't have women commenting. Please comment on this,
Yes,
women.
chat.
You see
in
this?
The chat. Let us know
in the chat. I would assume that women want a God-fearing man.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume that that's the ideal man that they're looking for. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. Let me tailor my perspective in that category. All right. So for those women who have a problem submitting, and they would feel more comfortable or prefer to submit, or however you want to term it, to a God-fearing man, which is what you said, Kyle, who are you submitting to, right? Who are you submitting to, right? So you're more led to submit to a man who's God-fearing. Then if he's God-fearing, that means he must adhere in a large part to the scripture, which is the Bible.
Right.
Where God is the head.
Right. Somebody follows Christian ideology, religion. Yeah.
Ideology, right? God is the head, then the husband, then the wife, then the children. And in that hierarchy should be no problem with women because he respects his wife as he respects himself. So if he respects his wife as he respects himself, then that alleviates or removes or eliminates SA. Right? Sexual abuse, violence, threats, unsafety in any way, shape, or form. Because it's assumed that he values himself. And if he values himself, he's supposed to value his wife like he values himself. Right? So that's the ideal situation that a wife would want to be in order to, like we started this conversation off, to submit. To feel comfortable in submitting. To be vulnerable. To be her feminine self. Right? And that also ties into a man's masculinity. I would hope that a woman wants a masculine man who's under the leadership of the creator, God, or whatever their belief is. Because if he isn't, and he's masculine, then she wants a huge risk of being abused, physically, sexually, and everything else. Because he's in his masculine, and because he's in his masculine, he has no accountability to a higher being who's guiding him. And any woman would want a masculine man to be under the guidance of a God who, according to the scripture, requires the husband to value himself and to value his wife as he values himself. So that in and of itself puts her under an umbrella of protection. Let's go all the way with this, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna end it with this. So now when we talk about partnerships, right? And I definitely want to hear yours on this. It's gonna be a tough one. I know women are gonna have a fit with this one. And I struggle with this, Kyle. I struggle because I just recently, started processing this. But in the book of Genesis, we have a situation where there's Adam and Eve in the garden. And God gives a mandate, the creator. And I gave that whole preference, right? You saw how I did that whole preference in the man. All right. We have where the creator God says, you can go eat of any tree here in the garden, except of this tree, the apple tree, the symbolism of the apple. Except for this tree here, do not eat of it. Any place else, you could go roam free, do whatever you want, but it was a test. Adam followed suit and didn't eat of the apple. He followed the instructions. But apparently, according to the scriptures, Eve didn't. And the onus is on Adam as well. Because Eve went to Adam and said, here, eat of this. When he knew, God said, do not eat of it. But because of it was his wife, his helpmeet, his partner, he ate of it. When he knew, the person he reports to said, don't eat of it. And the story ends, that's how we are today. Now, I struggled with this story because this is man-made. Because that's man trying to subject or put a woman down. That's what I used to think, right? Because I was under that indoctrination of, the idealism of the pureness of women. Even though I was raised on the Bible and scripture.
Okay.
But when I look at what's happening today, without the fathers in the home and the man in the home, and how not all women, let me clarify that, not all women, but a good percentage of women are operating without that structure, kind of makes it easier for me to digest. I can see that as a possibility. Because of the poor decisions that women are making now without the fathers in the home. Now, a lot of women are not going to like that. They're going to hate that statement that I just made. It's like I'm blaming them or whatever. I'm not. I'm just saying that we should cater to each other's strengths and we should respect each other's roles, adhere to each other's roles, and let us function in our roles. Allow the man to provide the structure for a woman to be under his protection. Again, a good man. I'm not talking about, we already know, I'm not talking about some messed up man, but a good man, you know, and yeah, that's all I gotta say. Go ahead, bro. That's a tough one. I get deep on this joint, man. I go all the way to freaking go in. I'm trying to learn. I want to be better. I want to, you know.
So the question you're asking, oh, hold on. I didn't see my video was off.
I was in response to her video in regard to the partnership and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, how women are gonna have an objection. I ain't catering. This is a partnership. We are working and not adhering to the structure and accepting the structure and our roles in that structure. That's the premise of my question, and I want your feedback.
Yeah, I you know, these are things that should be talked about before we get into those relationships. People wait too long to have these type of conversations, and then they get surprised. You know, when they make that commitment, marriage, or that long-lasting commitment that's like a marriage, where they're exclusive with one another, or whatever they have, you know, whatever got going on exclusively. And they wait to have these conversations too late, man. They this is something that's fundamental before you even go that route. And the hierarchy or the order, I would say, just the order. I'm not gonna say hierarchy, just the order of things. That's something that's established in a relationship very early, very early. If this person is a faith, if she is a faith, if y'all have the same faith, y'all have the same beliefs, value systems, etc. These are all questions that should be asked before you even get married. But we don't do that mostly. We wait and we just assume, we just silently assume these silent agreements that we have. Say, oh, well, oh yeah, of course she's with it. She's, or oh yeah, he's with it. He's yeah. And it's just like, no one ever asked the question. No one has ever asked the direct question like, are you this? Are you of this faith? Do you believe in this order of operation for our family? Right? I hate to get mathematical, you know what I'm saying? Order of operation, but that's it. Order of operation, the system, the family. The family is a system, right? So these incidences, man, could be much less if we know how to have these conversations at the beginning. And like she said, why are you marrying this man if you're not in agreement with this order of operation? Like, what are we doing? Like, again, going back to having those, not just conversations, but also how those conversations, people are like, well, we had the conversation. He said, having a conversation, so it's put out there, so that way you can monitor, y'all can monitor each other. Is this person said this man that I love said this sister, this woman that I love said this. Is she living in accordance to what she said she is about? Is he living in accordance to what he says he's about? And then if not, you could challenge that respectfully. Say, hey, yo, you said you was on this, but then I saw you do this. What's up with that? Or hey, let's have a talk. You know, I noticed some things that didn't seem in sync with what you told me earlier, and I just want to have a talk about it because it doesn't seem to line up. You know, and again, it doesn't have to be one conversation; it can be multiple conversations. But if we can take our clothes off of each other, but we can't expose our emotions, that's a huge ass problem.
Yo,
we can share we share our bodies, but we can't share our hearts and our minds. No, that's too sacred. That's too sacred. That's some bull feces right there. That's what that is.
You sounded like Jordan Peterson, man.
Man, Jordan Peterson got it from us. Jordan Peterson got it from my scholars, Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Africa.
My bad.
You know what I'm saying? No.
My bad.
Thumbs up to Jordan, but he got it from us. And I'll stand on that square forever. And he got some of it wrong, actually. He got some of it wrong. He got some of it right. He got some of that stuff wrong.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle. Very good,
So
brother.
this is where my scholars from ancient go. I'm talking about culturally, family. I'm talking about us as cultural people, right? Africa is very diverse, but I'm talking about culturally in antiquity. These are principles that are very ancient, very old, you know, and we do have to adjust in modern day society because it's not the same. But a lot of this stuff is pretty straightforward. It's just that we have lost our way. We have truly lost our way in certain aspects, and this is the result of that. And we can get back on track, culturally speaking. But if you think you're going to adopt your oppressor's mindset and value system and goals, and think you're gonna win, I think you need to do some more studying. I think you need to do some more research on yourself. I think you need to do some more research on your history and cultural impact on the world. I think you need to do more work. We have to do more work, myself included. I have to do more work because I'm not where I think I should be, where I know I can be. So I still have to do more work. So if I have to do more work, we all have to do more work. And not because I'm the template, because I know I'm not where I need to be. So I got a degree. And I've been teaching for 20 years. And I know I'm not where I ultimately need to be. Am I getting there? Yes. Can we all get there? Yes. But if you think you're going to be the same person, the same way for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and think you're going to get in a relationship and be the exact same person you think that you were going into it, you're fooling yourself. You're going to have a rude awakening.
So let me ask you this question. You brought up a very valid point.
Yes.
If we can get naked in front of, our women everywhere, whoever we're in a relationship with, but we can't talk about certain issues, that's I don't want to say the word crazy, but
it is crazy. It is crazy. It's insane. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And Minister Farrakhan goes even further.
Say what?
Minister Farrakhan goes even further. He mentions, and I'm paraphrasing, family, so forgive me if I misquote, because I don't want to misquote the minister, but he was if you can't emotionally evolve and be open to a person you say you're going to marry, not some fling, not some sexual fling. I'm talking about somebody you really feel like love and committed to and want to commit to, and you can't expose yourself emotionally, you should not be having sex. And as a man, I would tell any other man that you should not be having sex with that woman. You can't expose yourself emotionally, then how dare you feel like you can have sex or should have sex with this woman? And that's for the brothers in the room right now. And again, I'm holding myself to the same standard. This isn't a desire. I'm holding myself to the exact same standard. So I'm putting it out there. So if y'all see me fluctuating, y'all can say, hey, well, Kyle, you said this. You're right, bro. You're right.
Okay, so all right, I was thinking about. Do you think? Because I'm trying to rationalize it actually, because that's foreign to me. But let me ask you this question: do you think that maybe the reason why there's a struggle with having those conversations? Well, there's two scenarios I want to play out. So obviously, there's a objective in the dating, right? Particularly for men, they want to get in a woman's pants.
Yeah.
So I can see how a typical man wouldn't want to be vulnerable and sharing, intimate things about himself out of concern or fear that it might jeopardize his chances of getting into a woman's pants. I can see that. I don't license it. I'm not saying that that's right. But I'm saying I can see that. What I can't see is after he's accomplished his mission, so to speak, and they've shared that act of intimacy, the most intimate you can be, why then would it be a problem for this individual? And this men and women. I know I started off with just men. I'm talking about men and women. Why would it be a challenge for both of them to to be able to reveal that level of conversation after they have already been physically intimate, which is the most, that's like, that's it. That intimate, you can't get any more intimate than that. So I don't understand how a conversation on intimacy and vulnerability will be such a challenge for these individuals. I mean, if one individual loves the other individual and they feel that they may lose that individual, I can see that because they value the relationship. It's not about sex probably at that point.
Mhm.
So they can't share because they don't want the person to leave them. But then at that point, the person doesn't really love you for who you are.
Yeah.
Doesn't accept you for who you are. So I mean, you got to come to that rationalization or that reality sooner or later anyway.
Mhm.
But is it a case where that's where that falls into a person that doesn't want to lose the other individual? That's why they don't open up and share. Is it both parts? Is it like both of them in that situation? That's why they don't want to open up and share verbally after they've already done the intimate act physically. I'm trying to understand. I think that's where I'm confused. I'm trying to understand. How could the verbal conversation of vulnerability be more powerful or more intimidating than a physical act of, or it could be just the jadedness of this world today where sex is just sex.
I think you hit a point right there, my brother. Definitely one of the major points. If not the major point, definitely one of the major points. Like, we have devalued even that part of the intimacy level. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
The jadedness. Yeah, we have devalued our, since we don't, man, you made me think of something. It seems like since we devalue that part, we're devaluing ourselves, and we don't think highly of ourselves. So therefore, we throw ourselves intertwined sexually with each other, not really understanding the impact of that bond, right? So we devalue, so we don't really fully value or love ourselves. So then we get somebody who's also kind of in that same mindset, and then we come together, and then we expect the sexual part, to heal all the wounds that we've had, all the disappointments and disagreements and things like that. And then when it doesn't happen, then we're like, well, what's going on? What's wrong? Well, what's wrong is you created the act of doing something sexual or physical act of, because, well, here's another thing too. It just came to mind, and I got this from my elders. So this is not my actual thought, but I'm sharing what they were talking to us about. Having sex, which is spiritual energy exchange, does not equate intimacy. People will say sex and intimacy, but it's actually intimacy and sex. Here's what I'm saying. When people have sex, they think that they're typically being intimate with each other. But intimacy is an emotional openness, right? You have to be open emotionally to be able to bring somebody into your thoughts, ideas, feelings.
Is that true though? Yeah.
We're talking about intimacy?
Yeah, because from what I've heard, there are women who have sex and there's no intimacy involved.
No, that's what I'm saying. People think that to give sex is also intimacy, but that right. No. They're exclusive. Sometimes you get both. Sometimes you get both. That's what the goal is, really, for a lot of people. But like you said, some people have equated sex as just that, and there is no intimacy.
Okay.
There is no openness. There is no sharing. There is no vulnerability. There is just, here's my body. Let's pleasure each other, and then we go about our ways.
Got you. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue with the thought in regards to the disconnect between, well, unless you answered it already, how the whole disconnect. I think you answered already in regards to opening up and being vulnerable about the conversation. We can't even talk about this. There's no reason why we should even be intimate about it.
Right.
We can't be
if you can't even talk about
because there's that intimate component.
Yeah, you can. It's funny. We can have sex, but we can't talk about it with each other. We feel weird. That's what? That's insane.
It is. That's sickness. Okay. Okay, I want to bring up another thing real quick, and then we go to the final video. What do you think of women in particular about pair bonding? Women, you don't. All right, I'll break it down.
Yeah,
You know what I
break
mean
it
by
down,
that?
break it down. Huh?
All right, so
Yeah.
there's this thing going on nowadays where women are like, if men can do it, I can do it too.
Oh.
Because that's what's been happening over the years. So if men can have sex with all these women, I should be able to have sex with all these men and just be able to flow because it's equality, right? So a man, here's the big thing comes down. A man shouldn't care about a woman's body count, right?
Okay.
That's none of his business. Right? So, right, so that should be it. A man should, be influenced by her career, and I'm just telling you, biological thing, right? But right when it comes down to when they did a study, there was a study done on this, and women may want to admit it or not, but women are more attracted to a man who's experienced in the bedroom or with women. It's not the same for men with women. A man doesn't want a woman to be experienced in the bedroom. A man would prefer to have a woman who's ideally a virgin, but someone who hasn't gotten around, because the way a man's makeup is, that a man is a protector, provider, that whole thing. And to know that all these other men have been with your woman, it ain't gonna settle right with him. I mean, a man in general, but especially a man of status who has options. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why a woman's body count means more to a man than a man's body count to a woman. Right? I'm staying with this. Just stay with me. Right? So in line with that, right? This is the psychology. A woman subconsciously is more attracted to a man who is affluent, who's surrounded by a lot of women, because they feel he's special. All these other women must see something in him, so that's why they're attracted to him. That's where that attraction comes from women to men. It's not the same. If a man sees a woman surrounded by a whole bunch of dudes, he ain't gonna be trying to get with her to have a relationship. And this is the key. There's two different marketplaces out there that I don't think that's coming up in discussions, but I don't think women know. There's a sexual market value that a woman has and a relationship market value that a woman has, right? A relationship market value is in reference to marriage, vows, long-term commitment, bearing children, as a man bearing my children, as opposed to a sexual marketplace, which is just, hit it and quit it, that kind of thing. So as a man, if we see a woman surrounded by a whole bunch of men, he doesn't take her seriously, meaning, he want to get in on the action, right? If she's that loose and that free, it ain't fun unless your homeboy can get some too. I don't agree with that statement, but I'm just saying that's what that is, right? As far as sex is concerned. But as far as marrying her, he's not going to look at her as marriage material, because he don't want anybody who's been with somebody else. So I think that's where women miss it, right? In regards to body count and this whole equality thing. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If the guy can do it, I should be able to do it too. The final thing I want to finalize, I started with pair bond. So there's been a study that has shown that the more men women sleep with, the more difficult it is for her to bond with a man. So that means if she slept with 10, 15, they say if she slept with over 5 guys, they say the 10 guy that she settles down when they get married, it's going to be tough for her to stay with him, because the intimacy relationship or reference that she's going to have is always going to trace back to the 15 or the past relationships of the guys that she slept with. Whereas this one guy that she slept with did this one way that made her feel a certain way. The other guy did this thing and that thing. And here she's stuck with this one guy that she decided to settle her life down with, but she can't, because she will remain unsatisfied because she has all those past references to refer to when she's not satisfied in the bedroom. And that's what pair bond, the study of pair bond, proved with regards to women. And there's a movie on Netflix that I told you about called Sex Life that, boy, traumatized me. It traumatized me because she had the ideal man, the ideal husband, 6 figures, 6-pack, the whole 9. The child, all that. She had everything, the house, the car, all that. and she still kept going back to this homeboy. It was crazy.
Yeah, it is. And let me chime in on that part, because you're making some great points, that our needs, and I've said this before in another podcast, and this is coming from my teacher, my two teachers, Masho Edu and Washa Edu, the 7 psychological needs. And this is from them. A person's needs linked to emotions will supersede logic almost every time.
Makes sense. So
on the outside of us looking in, we're like, well, what's wrong? What are you doing? Like, what's this guy? He has enough money to take care of you. He has an attractive, fit body. Have children. What's wrong? Because whatever her emotional need that was never met, and that psychological connection to that was never addressed and unpacked and healed, she is still functioning as if she was back, whenever she was dealing with that guy. Her mind, her psyche is still back there. So yeah, she's here now. She has all this other stuff, but she never dealt with that past trauma and past experience, emotional connection with that experience. So she's still back there.
Thank you, Cal. And that's the study that they did. And for me, the way my rationale of
soul
it
tie, as Tony Gaskin said, soul tie.
Soul tie, exactly. That spiritual tie, soul tie. And my thing with that is, you can never erase that memory, man. You can never erase that memory, right? We have. I think it comes down to, like you said, but it's easier said than done.
Very much so.
Where it comes down to either if you are a sexual being, then, and this could be some gems or steps or instructions or something. If they do what you suggested, right, on what is suggested in regards to therapy and self-reflection and that whole thing, and are able to realize about themselves that they are a sexual being, then their best, I would say, decision is to settle down with someone who pleases them sexually.
Yeah.
If that's their core, right? And obviously somebody who's respectful and all that other stuff as well. But that's a connection that they have. If their being or core being isn't, or sex doesn't outweigh that and is more intellectual, then it's in their best interest to find somebody to settle down who meets them on that intellectual level after they've done that self-reflection, that true reflection, honesty, and things of that nature, to really find out what their core is. But in terms of the topic we're talking about, intimacy-wise, I don't think a woman will ever get over her past sexual partners, ever. I think that's going to stay with her, or will stay with her until she dies. You know what I mean? It'll just be on her to be able to block that feeling when it comes, as it will come throughout the rest of her life, and be able to block it without drugs, alcohol, and none of that stuff. Be able to actually do that and realize the value that she has if she's able, God willing, to settle down and get married with somebody who truly loves her for who she is, without any judgment, anything like that. That's what I feel in terms of this whole study that they did on pairbonding, right? And it's not the same for men.
Well, yeah,
pairbonding.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right, because history shows it too. You had kings and queens and all, and it shows about the concubines, and it shows about, as men, we were built to populate the earth. See, these are just statistical facts. You know what I mean? And sex to us is just sex. For a woman to have sex with a man, like you said, there's that intimacy to an extent. I'm not talking about women who are totally detached. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about overall, just general. Right. A woman, and before a man can even get into her pants, she has to have let him in her mentally, emotionally, before that actual physical act takes place. I'm talking typical, right? General.
Right. Because I know some women, they ain't in all that. They look I'm trying to be pleasured sexually, and what's up?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I know some women like that too. They have totally, intimacy, and they don't care about that. They like, look, I'm feeling a certain way sexually. You're right here, not me, but that person is right there, and you have totally removed that part.
So that was the whole part of the Parabond, brother. I got the one more video, and that's what mediocre tutorial reviews. We could do that another time. But it was just talking about Keke Palmer. What's your thoughts on the whole Keke Palmer thing? Have you heard it? You saw that?
Yeah, it's distraction. It really is distraction. I really don't care. Like, I got my own life to live. You know, they got to sort that stuff out, man. And they're young, and they don't know what they're doing. So, you know, like I said earlier, man, we want relationships, but we don't know what we're doing. We really don't. We really just winging it, and we don't have to wing it, you know. And unfortunately, because they don't know how to properly communicate with each other, because they're communicating online and things like that, and you know, they brought another human life into this world and didn't have a lot of their structure of how they wanted to deal with each other laid out. This is what occurs, you know. And these people, and she's, you know, I like Keke Palmer as far as an actress, you know, she from the shot, you know, salute, you know what I'm saying, she from the crib. So, you know what I mean, like, but it's just like, yo, sis, like, you know, this is what Hollywood does. It just does tacky stuff, you know what I'm saying? These people want to be, because unfortunately, because they're in entertainment space, some of them have a need to keep themselves relevant, and sometimes that's not the best reputation that they may have, you know, with her and her husband. And it's just tacky, man. It's just whack. Like, I don't even waste my time on it, man. It's just like, because now that I'm older and I know a little bit more in regards to relationships and how they function. You know, it's just, they need therapy and counseling, both of them.
So both of them being the baby's daddy and her, or Keke Palmer and Usher?
All three. Uno, dos, tres. They all need
it. Got you, brother.
Because they all
all right, so listen.
So they all need
it. Got you, bro. All right, y'all. That does it for. I have nothing else to add, Kyle, unless you have anything to add. Great discussion, brother. We're gonna try and keep this up, fam. We're gonna do a better job at promoting. We're gonna let you know when we're on here too. Hey, stay tuned this Saturday or Friday. We got a nice discussion coming up. We're gonna talk about this and that. So be sure to stay tuned. We're gonna try and do it live because we really want to hear from y'all and answer any questions that you may have and what we're talking about. You know, make sure we address whatever your concerns may be. So yeah, those are my final words, Kyle. What you got to say before?
Shoot, my final words are like, share, subscribe. That's my final words. My final words are like, share, subscribe to Grandma's Collective Podcast channel. Like, share, subscribe, right? And then share that with your other friends and have them like, subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
Hit
so
that.
You know, and again, like we say, we take donations. We take the kind that jingles, but we like to take the kind that, you know, we like to do that. Yeah.
So let me jump on that bandwagon.
If it falls multiple times in stacks, we love it.
So I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon.
To us. Seriously. What?
I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon and say hit that notification, unless you said it, Cal, hit that notification button as well, because it'll let you know when we're on. But fantastic discussion, y'all. Again, if you have any questions, just let us know. You know we're available. You know we're around. Just